I see with my nose and with my ears. I think it's important, especially in this post industrial world, that we remind people that the universe is not to be explored through a screen but through one's senses. And right now we focus mainly on the sense of sight. Very little physical force, no real engagement with the world. Everything is it seems to be like almost a post-continental philosopher period where we have the vestiges of Cartesian philosophical maps, the shredded elements of the world, and we are just clinging to these rotting remnants, and I don't think it needs to be that way. I think human beings need to go out and explore the world. And I knew we were in trouble decades ago when Cesar Millan first became popular because he had to explain to people how the animal that we domesticated the longest at this point, the canine, exactly what they're thinking. I dearly and sincerely hope for the day when we can rewild the world and get rid of roads and get back to what is nature, as instead of this idea that everything gets viewed and experienced through a screen, which is a lie. Yeah, I specifically remember Cesar Millan doing nose exercise work with bulldogs because they get too much focus on their sight and they don't use their other senses. And we suffer from some of those same, I think, depressive things. So partially it's to inspire people to think about nature and the natural world. And part of it's to exercise some of my tendencies to create specific styles of art and a focus on nature in the microcosm and macrocosm design elements. Something I did a few years back with a deer piece and some raven. And I've done with other pieces, the bonsai and the deer, just combining these large and small images. But I also love what I would refer to traditionally as Saidian knotwork, which is this ornamental structure that you're now seeing worked on. It's I say Saidian because that's what I saw it on, was a old textbook years and years ago. God, like 30 years ago in my high school library. And it was attributed to Irish warhorse armor. And we now know that it's probably closer to the Scythian culture, which would have influenced all of Europe. That's the actual culture, if you ever look it up, that we believe that the Greek idea of the Amazonians was based on. These were the warriors that the Vikings wished they were. How about that? So in this piece, we're playing with these design elements. I make these organically. It's one of my favorite things to do is this type of design element. In fact, years ago, I did my wife's feet in this style of swirling pattern and gemstone elements. And if you look up Scythian metalwork, you'll actually see some of this stuff. You see it amongst the Picts, who have some of the strongest amount of Yamnaya and Scythian genetics in Europe. So it's a very good... It's not even a question. It's probably very likely that most of your brilliant Celtic, which is technically German, ironwork is probably a direct result of Scythian influence. So in this piece, we're just kind of talking about the senses of the wolf and how it guides the wolf through its existence. And it's highly stylized. I'm not too sure if this is done or not. I drew it with the intention of either making it a tattoo as it is or making it a finished painting. The eyesight line that goes out through the back of it I envisioned with either bind runes or ogham. Just a stave of it. I don't know. For those of you who are wondering why I draw in pink or black grape, you could call it, the dark color is, it's eventually black and gray, but I've always drawn in a lighter series of lighter colors so I can step it up to black. This is kind of more of a traditional technique amongst artists so that you can ever increase contrast and go over mistakes and amplify things that you like. And it's probably not necessary on the iPad Pro, but I really just think of this thing as digital paper. I don't think of it in the way a lot of creatives use this piece of technical equipment. But I'm not really a computer person, so there's that. We're going to work on more of this Scythian or Scythian metalwork. I just genuinely like the S-curves. Funny side note, the Scythians are one of the first groups that are noticed to have red hair and blue eyes. And we know that blue eyes and blonde hair originated in the area of Ukraine probably somewhere around 10,000 years ago. I've heard it as far back as 12,000. I've heard it as recent as 9,000. I don't know, I'm not a scientist or an archaeologist, but I thought that was interesting that this type of feature manifests there. And if you look at the pottery prior to the introduction of Yamnaya influence, which would be thousands of years earlier, it seems that the pottery patterns of this part of the world are all S-curves. There's no real point to that. So this is available as a tattoo, or tell me if it should be a finished painting.